Okay, so the title of my presentation is a little bit where you understand there's some frustration. Students in higher ed, they're a lot like students in K-12 schools. Um, the things that you talk about in the hallway with your students, we talk about at faculty meetings. There's not a lot of difference. And sometimes we scratch our head because there's not a lot of difference. But that's a whole nother presentation for another time. What I have found with Mote, it allows me to bring in my personality, which is really difficult to do in black and white text. It's very difficult to respond to a heartfelt email from someone and you have to think about it. And I'm the world's worst typer. Good thing I have some products that correct my typing. Sometimes they miss some of the stuff and I don't go back and proofread it. And that's another reason why I love Mote, because it picks up what I say, and what I say comes from the heart. We'll get into that as well. All right, so you're getting a little bit of what I'm like: projecting tone, inflection, excitement, and disappointment. And all of that can be picked up by Mote. Okay, so there's basically 5 modes of communication. Spatial, that's where you have physical conditions, you have body movement, you have proximity, how close you are. You know, if COVID comes back, we're back to our 6 feet of distancing. I hope not. My mom used to say that, can you talk without using your hands? You know, so gestural. No, I cannot put my hands in my pocket. I've tried, and it just seems to restrict everything that I'm wanting to say because I'm thinking about my hands in the pocket. It drives me crazy. All right, so now we're also talking about linguistic or alphabetic, written. And, you know, we're still write today, and we've been writing for a long time. Back in the day, we used a hammer and a chisel. And then we also have the spoken communication, which still takes place at the water cooler, in the hallway, at the grocery store, at church. We're real good about using visual representation, especially everybody loves to use a Canva infographic or any other products that make those sorts of things. We like videos. And then oral is sound. Can we hear? Well, the new Mote, you definitely can hear, which is important. And we like to play music in the background in our own classes. I do that online when we have a Google Meet. I will sign in to Google Meet 5 minutes before the official start time, and I'll have music on. And I've had so many good comments because it really, not that it's going to be a hostile meeting, but it just relaxes everybody, which is something I did as a language arts teacher. My students came in and music was on. It really does soothe the savage beast. All right, so online, and I've taught for 17 years online. I did have, I said 100%. I did teach one online, one on-campus class, Foundations, but I also taught it online. And I found that it was very confusing and hard for me not to use the same terminology from one format on campus to the other format online. So I just started to use all online terminology. And I treated both class as if they were online, with the exception of I got kids to show up every Tuesday and Thursday when we had class. Now, the issues we have with the 5 modes of communication: spatial. You can't see how far I am from you. You can't see me hold my arms out, you know, saying you need a hug or I want a hug. You can't see me high-fiving. All of that is just a mystery. You're blind to that. And the same thing, you would have no idea that I talk with my hands. And I just clasp it, and I'm like, why am I clasping my hands? Because that's not me. I would love for someone to analyze my movements and see if they mean anything. I don't think so, except for the ones that really explode when I'm excited about something or trying to make a point. Okay, so these are all acceptable. These are things that I used before Mote, and I still use these things. We're still got the linguistic and the alphabet. Written communication, that hadn't gone away. Well, we've got mail. Remember snail mail? We still get things in the mailbox. Most of them are advertisements for Medicare. I turn 65 next year, so we get inundated all the time. Email, we still use that. Not my favorite mode of communication. Text, I'm still not a texter, but my wife refuses to just call me. She'll text me. She'll Facebook message me. She'll messenger me. And I'm like, honey, where did you send that information? You got 3 or 4 different things you use. And I would have never expected her to be that crazy with technology. Social media. We now have X, which is an interesting name for the former Twitter. We still use our cell phones. In fact, I'm using mine to help me keep track of time. I can get long-winded. I love to talk. Video conferencing. You might be a fan of Zoom. Boo, boo. I'm a Google certified trainer, and I just use everything Google has. So I love Google Meets. And that's where I was telling you a while ago that I would play 5 minutes of music before the meet started. It's just a cool thing to do. And again, things that we can use that have audio. Of course, you got YouTube and a host of other video sources. Again, your cell phone, you can get audio from that. And a real big music company that I have started following is Spotify. And there's no, I can skip as many as I want, and there's no penalty, unlike Pandora or Amazon. And I pay for Amazon, and I still get skips, and they make me wait. Spotify, I absolutely love. They also want me. I think they're teasing me. I think they're going to eventually shut it off. I don't know, because they keep sending me messages. Won't you sign up? Won't you sign up? Okay. So in referring to graduate students, and, I've already laid out the premise that some of my grad students are very similar to some of your K-12 students. And I won't go into any details. Use your imagination. The interesting thing is when you look at the age difference, when you compare what we're talking about, and I've got people that I see, have seen since 2006, anywhere ranging from 20, I think has been my youngest, up to 82. So it's been an interesting mix of people, been a fun mix. Okay, so this is not unreasonable, that it's reasonable that my grad students expect to get quality feedback and in a timely manner. And sometimes they don't care why you don't do it. They just know that they're not getting what they're paying for. And that makes a lot of difference between my guys and K-12 students. Compulsory education is free. We're paying tuition. $318 a credit hour, I think, is what we're paying, asking our students to pay at Fort Hays. Well, in the process of trying to do a better job, I've upped my game in email. In fact, I even now use Gmail, and I have templates because you get the same questions all the time at the beginning of the semester, and I just fire it off. And the biggest thing I tell my people, quit using your personal email, because everything we do is in Google, and you won't have access to it unless you're using your Fort Hays student Gmail account. So I got a template that fires that off. I got a template that says, welcome to the program, and it tells them everything to do. Also, along the way, when Google started listening more to its users, I've got a comment bank. I haven't used it in a while because of Mote, but it's still there. I don't know that I'll ever go back. As long as Mote continues to do what they're doing and improving upon the product that they have, there's no need. So when my grad students get upset, they skip me. And they go right to the chair and they say, hey, will you do something about this, instructor? And I've had 2 instances where they skipped the chair, they skipped the dean, and they called the president twice. I guess that's not bad in a 17-year career. Embarrassing as all get out. um, and had to deal with it, and had to, take my lumps. Um, Partially responsible for the anger. Um, that's just the nature of the beast. We can't always make everybody happy and do everything we say we're going to do, because sometimes we get busy and things happen. It still is upsetting, especially when they screen capture. They don't necessarily agree with feedback that I've given them, and they make a copy of it and they run and they send it to the chair and say, "What are you going to do about this?" Now, as a former superintendent and a principal and a classroom teacher, I had parents doing that to me. But this is in the 90s. We didn't have email then. It would be based on a phone call or something that I wrote on a child's paper, and that would be the evidence they would use. And it would be in my handwriting. What's happening now is when it appears on social media. And there are far too many groups that start these Facebook gripe sessions, and they just explode, and it just grows and grows, and it festers and it festers. Reminds me like a pimple. And when that sucker pops, it hurts. And what I mean by pops is where people really notice what's going on, and then you look like the bad guy. We have this thing called Rate My Professor, and people can be downright cruel. And so what I'm doing now with my students is I'm telling them, and I used a Mote with the 5 minutes in it because I sent it out by email. And I said, guys, please don't wait till the end of the semester to turn in all your complaints about me. Because guess what? I couldn't fix them along the way. I can only fix what I know about. And so that's had some positive results. It kills me. I'm shamelessly admitting that I have on my transcripts 21 hours of F. Yeah, I partied, I messed up, I even got kicked out of school for things that I didn't do. I just happened to be a party to the group that did it. And I'm the only one that got kicked out of school. I'm still scratching my head over that one. Probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because it removed me from a group I shouldn't have been a part of. But it never fails. If I take off points, why? Why did you take off points? I have never had a B. I fully expect to get an A in this class. Do you hear the tone and the inflection? And they get irate. And I have copies of my transcript that has the F's on it. And I calm down. I have a PhD, and I have this to show. It reminds me of the movie Jaws, when they're all drinking around the table in their little boat, forget the name of it, and they're starting to pull up their shirts and pull down their pants and show their scars. Well, I got bit by a barracuda. I got bit by a tiger shark. Hammerhead chewed off my ear, whatever it was. And they're all proud. I am too, in a funny sort of way. That's my tiger. I should have said this during Shark Week. That's my wound that I've overcome. Took a lot to overcome that. And I'm very happy to share that with my students. So I just say, calm down. Well, so I guess I was missing on my target, because I really actually thought I was doing a good job. I was using lots of technology. I had rubrics. Granted, the rubrics weren't too detailed, but I was happy with them. And, so they didn't tell me until I get my evaluations. And again, that's what I'm talking about. You can fix it for the next semester, but you don't have an opportunity to fix it for those kiddos. Now, what's funny, they'll burn you at the end of the semester when they do their evaluations. But all semester long, when you take off 2 points, can I redo it? Can I revise it? I want that 100 points. And first thing out of my mouth is, do you do that for your own students? Well, of course not. Well, there's your answer. They don't like that. So, like I said, I have gotten burned in my evaluations. And here's the funny thing. I remember when I was a teacher, there was this fear about merit-based pay, and you were hearing about it all over the country. I never really found anybody that had merit-based pay. Guess who has merit-based pay? It's not my contractual amount. It's my increase, which some people call cost of living. And as you know, what has happened to the cost of living lately? It's gone sky high. And so when my grad students give me really bad evaluations at the end of the course, and I haven't had a chance to work on it, it's not very good feedback. It's conclusive feedback. I can't grow during this semester. So there's been a few years where I didn't get a cost of living raise because of one person. And we don't get a lot of people to evaluate us anyway. So if you have 5 people and one person burns you, forget it. You're not going to get any weighted value for that one person's comment. And there's not a thing we can do about it. That's where the formula is set up. Oops. Well, guess what? And I tried to remember how I found Mote. I'm thinking, because I live in Google extensions. As a Google trainer, I'm constantly checking those suckers out, especially back in the day when they weren't verifying and validating and running them through some kind of screen process. And there was a lot of bad extensions. We used them all. And then my school started saying, well, that hadn't been approved by the da-da-da-da-da. I said, we're gonna back off of that one. But I'm pretty sure that's how I found Mote. And I'm like, there was another product, and the name of the product escapes me, where you could do some audio, no text, just audio. It was cumbersome. I didn't like it. And Mote comes along, and I'm like, Mote, what is, so I add it to Google Chrome, and it didn't work. So I sent an email, and you'll see that my first Mote was some time ago, April 29th of 2020. I went to my email and also went into my Mote bank to see my history. And it wouldn't work on a document that was shared with me. It would work on a document that I created and gave someone access to. So I sent an email to this Will person, and I said, it's not working. And he's like, what? And I said, no. And he said, well, will you share your document with me? Yeah. He fixed it, did something, and it worked a couple of days, and it happened again. And I'm about to pitch this because if it's not going to work on documents that are shared with me that I'm not the owner, it's going to be too much of a mess, too much chaos. I sent him another email. In fact, I sent him, I think, several emails. And the ironic thing, which I'm kind of skipping a slide here, is that's the first thing he said to me when he saw me at ISSE this year. We'll get into that in a minute. And then you see, I fell in love with Mote and become a certified educator in July of 2021. Okay, so what has happened since I've added Mote to my tool belt? I consider myself to be extremely innovative. I'm a risk taker. I'm the guy that it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. I've been that way all my life. I've only gotten in trouble a couple of times, been called on the carpet. But the rewards for being the first to do something and make it successful and sharing out with your peers is wonderful. Okay, so now my grads get audio and written text in their Google Docs, their slides, slideshows, and forms. That was another issue that I brought to Will's attention back in the day. The picking up the text, you couldn't shut it off. And I'm looking at it, and I'm from Oklahoma, and I don't know if you heard my accent because I've kind of hidden it, but we do a lot of but and yeah, and it would pick up all of that, and it would show up, and it would make it very hard to read through it. wasn't that long ago, I went in and I guess I actually hit a button that turned the text back on. And we have 5 minutes now. I believe it went from 30 to 90 seconds, I think to 2 or 3 minutes, and then it went to 5. And when I talk to my students about something of importance, I'll use most of the 5 minutes. And of course, it spools and it takes a long time before you can send it. I clicked on it and it was probably the cleanest. I wish my iPhone would pick up my text as well as it didn't put in words that I didn't say. It was really clean. I thought, good gosh, have they gotten really good at this product? And so one thing that in listening to what I've been hearing today, I don't know that I heard anybody talk about using Mote in their Gmail. I've got that sucker down there and I click on it all the time, especially when I get a really long email, and I'll make a copy of my Google tab, put it on one screen. I've got it here, and then I hit Mote record, and I'm reading the email and I'm responding almost verbatim, because most of the time when I get something that long, I just copy it, paste it into a new email, and then spread it apart. That takes forever. Change the color of my font. You have to change the color of your font every time you switch a line to respond to their questions. So I'm just in there reading and expressing myself. And again, they can't see the movements, but they can hear the voice. And they can hear me questioning. They can hear me acknowledging. They can hear me supporting. They hear all of that. Comes to me very naturally. We connect better. They feel like they know me better. They can hear me. They can hear my sincerity. They don't know when I'm pretending, because sometimes I pretend to be really mad when I'm just like, I'm going to cut this person a break. But I want them to get a sense for how maybe I do feel. I can express anger, exhaustion. Oh, I can go, I don't know what you're doing. I can go, oh man, I just don't get it. I can also let them hear authentic. You can only imagine how many times I hear about a suicide, a death, a car wreck, a family whose house is burnt down. And of course, I can relate to what happened in Hawaii. Crazy thing is, we're going to Maui in November, 3 miles from the town that burnt down. You can hear excitement and joy. I'm excited to go to Hawaii. And then I'm like, oh, do we have to, will we have to drive through the town? Will they let us drive through the town? There's a lot going on there. And, I have so much compassion for those people. And I'm doing this intentionally to show you, because if you were listening to a Mote of mine, this is what you would hear. You'd hear sadness. We always say family first. And we tell our students, we don't want you to say, I have an excuse, I have a reason. What we want to hear is life. Life happened, Doc. And okay, I don't want to hear the rest of that. You're using the key phrase. Take care of yourself first, then worry about class later. Hi, I'm concerned about you. You haven't been turning your assignments in. Please get a hold of me and let me know you're okay. And that'll be a Mote that goes out. Interestingly enough, today I found this article because I was kind of changing things around as I was listening to people. This is a really good article from Edutopia about how the tone of your voice shapes your classroom culture. Check it out. All right, so yeah, even with Mote, I get frustrated. It's a great tool. It's the best one right now, but still it has its limits. It's just the way it is. All tools have their limits. The interesting thing, though, is I now have students signing up for Mote. They love it so much, they respond to my audio with their audio. And oh my gosh, has that been so cool. And again, even though I like to tell my students, the only thing that's keeping us apart is when we do a video, is this screen right here. And now when we use Mote, we're within hearing distance of one another. And we hear everything going in the background. We hear their tone, their inflection. So we have a good idea of what's going on in their world at the time. So I alluded to this earlier. I met Will this summer and he goes, I know you. He saw my name badge. And he said, you're the guy that sent all those crazy emails. And I went, yep. And then I said something to the effect, I said, and look how good your product is today. Shameless plug for Mote. I've been very fortunate to be kind of on the ground at the very beginning, grassroots with Will and his team, and it's one of the coolest tools that I have ever used because it allows me to be me, and that's very important to me because if you hide my personality, you have no idea what kind of educator I am.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moody. I was laughing along. I decided I wouldn't jump in earlier, but no, I was looking back at my email. I still have some of those emails you sent.
Oh, I do
too. Yeah, maybe I'll share those. But no, this has been great. Honestly, what I loved, and Rick, please feel free to join. But I really loved. Honestly, you shared some very very personal experiences, right? You shared. It's we're quite vulnerable with us all, and I really appreciated that. I think. The reason we in the first place, launched Mote and created this product was because of the problem you identify, which is misunderstanding between people. And those especially, it's really important in education. It's really important in many other walks of life. But listen, this has been fantastic.